Good evening everybody and welcome back to League Racing TV for the second time tonight. This is Group A of the EML Challenge Cup. I'm here with QVR Daka. If you are tuning in for the first time, unfortunately we did have a little bit of a lobby glitch at the end of the qualifying session, so we have restarted the game and the stream, and we will be getting ready for the first round of the EML Challenge Cup. And just a recap on qualifying, what a run it was from TRT, Daka.
Certainly, and of course you have Cliffy now on that pole position ahead of Vapor and Symbolics of VER. So you have three different teams inside the top three. Behind that, it's a largely TRT and VER dominating affair throughout the rest of the top 10. Vapor have quite a few drivers on the edges of the top 10. OWR had a relatively weak qualifying, so we'll see how that all unfolds. I do believe that VER driver Obi-Twan was unfortunately disconnected, I think, from the lobby. We have had some lobby issues certainly tonight, and I hope it's going to hold up throughout this race. But I suppose the show must go on. Cliffy gets around to the front of the grid. Kunth will join him on the front row. We'll see who's going to lead that. Heading into turn one, Cliffy on pole. Let's see if he stays there for the 18-lap race.
Here we go then, getting ready then for the first round. Fingers crossed. We actually get ready for the first round of tonight. We'll wait and see, just wait for the lights to come on ahead of the drivers. And it looks like we are ready to go then for the first round of the EML Challenge Cup Group A around Austria. Who's going to get the best start off the front of the grid? Is it Kunth? Is it Cliffy on pole position? Long hold, but the lights are out and away they go, and it looks like Cliffy's had a brilliant start from pole position. He's already clear into turn one, and it looks like a great start from TRT as a whole as well. They're going side by side in the background. Cliffy really wide at turn one, but just about gets away with it. Vapor Kunth stays in second place, and I believe Symbolic stays in third place. The two TRT drivers of Legend and James are side by side coming through two and up to three. They just about get away with no contact, and oh my word, who was that in the background? That was Rooney, I think, going for a dive down the inside, but just about avoids him and nearly makes contact with his teammate on the exit of turn three. They just about get away with that as well, as they're running three wide in the background. I think that was all three of the OWR drivers running side by side coming out of turn three down towards turn four. Then it seems to be a fairly clean start for everyone so far. Few lockups into turn four, a little bit of wobble there from Kazakhs, who's running on the medium tyres. He's the lead medium runner up into 11th place. He's had an incredible start, nearly into the top 10 already on those tyres, but coming through to the end of that one, a fairly clean start, and Cliffy with a great start now holds the race lead.
We'll see if he can hold on to it then. Kunth is going to chase him down. The top six remaining in the same order of the start then, but Obi-Twan, his AI car has predictably dropped to the back of the field. I think he is actually back in there, battling away with Sappy King at the back of the field. Up at the front though, Cliffy does lead the way ahead of Symbolics then, as the inevitable glitch of the timings begins to unfold. We're hoping to try keep up with things then out on track. Anyway, Cliffy does lead the way still in front of Kunth there, but he is putting on the pressure up there, keeping him honest, looking behind any battles there. Symbolics has lost out, I think, there. There was Legends moved up into that third position for TRT, and they are flying at the moment then. Two out of the top three drivers in on track. We'll see if they can try and convert. They could be headed for a really strong finish here, but of course there's a long way to go still. We're looking further down the field as it begins to spread out. Looks relatively safe at the moment there. Further back, Atlas Kobo eases past Colin towards the back of the field then. Of course, points for every driver. Every battle matters out there. So they've got to try and fight for everything they can, and most importantly, stay in the race. So little update then. Cliffy leads the way. Kunth is putting pressure on him, but behind him then, Legend and Symbolics after that battle, they're falling a little bit further behind, and Cliffy and Kunth now comfortably out in the front of this race, and now DRS will be active. It is really game on now for the race lead.
Yeah, it really is, and it looks like Legend as well, third fastest lap of the race so far, so he's trying to close back in on the top two as Vapor Kunth closes in the braking zone for turn three, but actually got caught out a little bit by Cliffy braking for the corner and had to run deep into turn three to avoid hitting the back of him, so that's going to cost him a little bit of time. It will allow Legend to get closer. At the moment, TRT occupy 5 of the top 9 spots at the moment. They are doing a brilliant job. You can see them in their lime green cars. They stand out massively, and they're doing a brilliant job so far. TRT James in 5th as well, though, coming under a little bit of pressure from VR Dream Indigo, who's trying to get up the inside of him towards turn 6, but isn't quite close enough. Maybe just trying to force an error from James down into that corner, but not quite able to do so. A little bit wide, though, there of the apex through turn 7 was James, so maybe Dream Indigo trying to come back at it down towards turn 9, but again, not quite close enough. They're all starting to form a queue, really all the way down to Bear Ramy, currently in 14th place, the lead OWR driver. Back is in 15th, 17th and Atlas Copo 16th. OWR haven't really made up a lot of places as Legend again sets the fastest lap of the race. Third at the moment, nearly within, tantalizingly within DRS range. He's not quite there just yet, but Legend in third place, absolutely flying.
And we'll see if he can try and complete the charge. He'll certainly do well if the top two start to battle. Cleffy has used a huge amount of ERS trying to defend from Kunt, and that could put him under pressure, certainly. The gap is 1.2 seconds between Kunt and Legend, but that could certainly come down, especially Cleffy's pace may start to fall off because he has burned through his ERS and his overtake, and we'll see if he can try and make the most of that there, but he's down to 15%, where most of the drivers are above 50, so that is certainly not going to work well for your race leader out there, and it could mean that the race lead may well change hands very, very soon. Further back down the field there, as you mentioned, Dream Indigo was challenging TTGames. He does look one of the faster drivers in this lane, and currently runs in a very solid 6th position at the moment there. The top two continue to be closer, but Cleffy leads the way by about half a second. Now he's almost completely out of his ERS though. He's burning through it like nothing I've ever seen, and surely he's going to be under attack now, because Kunt now pick up the slipstream as the DRS, and it's going to go to the outside, heading for turn 3 then. Can he clear it before the corner? Yes, he can. We have a new race leader for Vapor now, and Cleffy has to settle in behind, and now the DRS train may well build up there. Cleffy again on the overtake, trying everything to get back to him, but it's not going to work, and Kunt now holds the race lead there. On lap 5 of this race, runs MP1. We'll see if he can break away now from Cleffy, who's burned through so much ERS, is now starting to affect him, and it looks like he may be at the mercy of falling back even further.
Yeah, Cleffy really likes it. I've never seen anything like it myself either. He's burned through it so quickly. In 5 laps, he's run out completely. Couldn't just use 20% of his ERS. Still has about 60 left and breezed past him up towards turn 3. So Vapor now lead the way. Does Cleffy decide to come into the pit lane, I wonder? No, he's staying out. Who of the leaders is going to be the first ones to come in? We've had a couple of pit stops already. Collins come in already off of the medium tyres and onto the softs at the end of lap 5. So he thinks the softs can go to the end of the race from there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I think M. Sharin maybe under a little bit of pressure a bit further down. Misharin, I think, maybe making a little bit of a mistake coming out of the last corner, and he drops behind Shea and Bear Ramy, who both go up into 12th and 13th place. So Bear Ramy definitely flying the flag at the moment for OWR, but still all Symbolics is going for the move on Legend. He is. Oh my word, where's this come from? Legend, who looks so comfortable in third place, all of a sudden Symbolics has come back at him, and in the background as well, Rooney and Quicks going side by side, the two TRT drivers. They're now starting to lose time, and they're losing time to Kelvin behind, as Indigo and James are now side by side. So VER really on the move, and TRT, after a great start, all of a sudden are starting to drop their pace.
We'll see if they can make up for it there. Dream Indigo completes the maneuver on James and moves up into the top 5 there. VER beginning to establish themselves towards the front of this race. They have lost Obi-Twan to connection issues, who's now runs at the rear of the field. We'll see if we can turn that around then. So, up at the front, the top two continue to pull away, and actually both into the pit lane here at the end of lap 6. So that's going to promote several drivers there. Dream Indigo came in as well. So Symbolics now promoted to the race leader. We're going to see now a battle of the pit crews here. So who is going to come out in front here? Kunt now is going to get out of that pit stop then, but Cleffy will just about have to slow it behind then and maintain that position. Dream Indigo behind them. Kelvin was in as well, but up at the front though, Legend looks like he's starting to fight back. And Jules is on the back of TTGames. So VER continuing to charge out there, and are really putting the pressure onto TRT now, because now DRS and overtake for Jules. Pulls to the outside towards turn 4. Can he get that one completed then? He moves across the braking zone and will just about find the space and get through. So another move for VER, this time for Jules. They now have 2 cars, one inside the top 3 then. Symbolics leads the way out on track. Legend trying to stay with him. We'll see how the overcut works out for these guys. Surely it's going to be a busy pit lane at the end of this lap there. Kunt leads from Cleffy behind there in terms of net position, but on track it's Symbolics, and now he dives for the pit lane, and we'll see how they come out relative to those that came in on the last lap.
Jules is in as well, TRT James and both Rooney as well. Both TRT drivers deciding to stay out on the track, so they're going a little bit further into this race, trying something a little bit different. Maybe they don't think the medium tyres seem to have the pace. Kazak's now up to 4th on those medium tyres, but he's not really shown a lot of pace on those tyres as of yet, so he's struggling to find pace. He's actually been caught by Bear Ramy, who's flying at the moment, started towards the back of the field, having invalidated his time in qualifying, and is now working his way forwards very, very methodically. He's up to 5th on the road. Obviously, a lot of people have pitted, but Kazak's was running at the bottom end of the top top 10, and Bayremi started it down, I think, in 18th place. So he's flying at the moment, doing a very good job for OWR, who otherwise are still continuing to struggle towards the back of the field. Looking at the race leader, so Kunth came out of the pit lane, and he's actually broken DRS to Cliffy. So Cliffy's lack of ERS has meant he's fallen too far back, and is now going to be under pressure from drivers behind. Symbolics is in 10th and net 3rd place on the road. Dream Indigo has jumped up to a net 4th place, so he's gained massively in all of this as well. Legend's now down to 13th and is stuck behind Stampy King, who is yet to stop in this race, and Jules is ahead of Quicks as well. So it's all really playing into VER's hands at the moment. They didn't have the best of, they had a very good qualifying, but TRT shone in qualifying. In the race so far though, it's been VER who are stepping up to the plate.
Legend, interestingly, went for the hard tyres in the pit stops, which is baffling to me, because the tyre degradation isn't too high here. He is now running against Satmi King out on track though, and may get moved up very soon. The OWR driver massively sideways. We have more pit stops then. Cars to the pit lane now, they are led by TRT James. Down the inside goes another TT driver in Legend, wheel to wheel with Satmi King through turn 1, but can't quite complete the manoeuvre. Satmi King on soft tyres, they are raging, but they'll still be giving some good grip. But surely now this is inevitable. Down the inside goes Legend, completes it, and moves up into 7th on the road then. So he is now in front of OWR Satmi King, and now behind then James is having to fend off Jules back there as well. They're all starting to bunch up out there. So Legend does get through, but hard tyres, he's surely going to be under attack. Up the road though, you mentioned Dream Indigo's charge. He's now sitting up behind his teammate Symbolics. VER now running inside the net top 4 with 2 drivers, but Vapor clawing something back with a net race lead from Kuntin. At the moment, he is not looking back.
He is not. He's disappearing off into the distance. 1.6 seconds is the gap now. Misharin's now into the pit lane, so he's coming in. He was running in 2nd place. He's the last of the soft runners, apart from Stampy King, to come in. I imagine we'll probably see Stampy King in as well. He's really struggling. Is he into the pit lane? I think he is. Yes, he is. Also, look out for time penalties in this race as well. We've seen a lot of people. Oh, someone in the background picked up damage there. I think that might have been Quicks. I don't know.
Yep.
I think Quicks might have just picked up damage off of his TRT teammate. I'm not quite sure if that is the case, but Quicks now drops behind Rooney and Jules, and is now down to 10th in Kelvin's, only a couple seconds behind, and he's dragging Vapor Shea and Bayremi with him as well. So all 3 of them starting to close in. Actually, Vapor Shea is looking to the inside line. Can he get the move done on Kelvin up towards turn 3? He's got to be late on the brakes on the inside. He's very late on the brakes. Runs a little bit wide, and look at Bayremi trying to get both of them on the exit, almost on the grass, and there's a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact as they run 3 wide. But Bayremi, what a move, read that to perfection, saw the 2 in front of him battling too hard, almost reminiscent of Stroll and Ricciardo at the Austrian race this season, just darted up the inside and past the pair of them. What a move from Bayremi.
So opportunistic, and he almost went to the grass, as you mentioned, but found the space and made the move stuck. We finally have Kazakhs into the pit lane, and from the race scene is going to relinquish that to Kudu. Now moves forward with a 1.5 second lead, looks relatively comfortable, and a penalty for Cliffy as well. Maybe we'll send him back. I've noticed that TRT have been picking up more penalties in general than most of the other teams. How much is that going to hold them back in a race? And it's still very, very close out there on track at the moment there. I saw Legend running wide again coming out of turn 1. TRT still running very well out there, but currently maybe suffering further back down the field. Bayremi might be on the attack again. Kazakhs just came out in front of him and was able to maintain that position. Bayremi hunting for that inside line. Will not commit to it. Will think better of it. Runs a bit wider now. Shea on the inside, trying to find traction on the exit. Can't quite manage it. Bayremi will stay in front for the time being. Further up though, James got past his teammate Legend, going up into 5th place now out on track. Looks like the order is going to remain the same in this midfield battle. But Kazakhs now in a good place actually on the soft tyres. Can really use that as a platform to charge forward. The field is relatively close up to 5th place, so maybe he can try and find his way through and really start to fly the flag, get up into that top 5. Kazakhs could be on for a solid haul of points here.
He's really got to be the one to look out for as well. With Legend on those hard tyres, he's going to be holding all those drivers up behind him, so that's even better for him. Vapor now starting to come back into this one as well. They were struggling a little bit at the start. Kunth was definitely flying the flag, but both Kazakhs and Shea are on the move up the field. Currently running 9th and 11th, and they do look pretty fast at this point. And what was the silver lining really there for Kazakhs was Bayremi had to back out of the penultimate corner to let Quicks go into the pit lane. So he lost at least a second, and that cost him the opportunity of being ahead of Kazakhs coming out the pit lane. So that's really hurt his race, but he's still up into the top 10. He's doing a great job for OWR at the moment. Next OWR driver is back, is down in 14th at the moment, a little bit detached from the queue of cars forming behind Bayremi is Symbolics, and Cliffy now going side by side, and Symbolics down the inside. Cliffy runs into the dirt on the outside of turn 4, and again Cliffy loses another place. So from pole position, his ERS manager at the moment has really cost him, and another time penalty. He's going to be off the podium at this rate.
Certainly, and yeah, it's just the way that his race is falling apart. We have yellow flags back there, and that's Misharin. Misharin, after coming into the pit lane, and that is definite front wing damage. It's going to understeer offline then. That's fairly disappointing for the Vapor driver. It's going to run out behind Atlas Copo as well then. So that is absolutely heartbreaking, and that really sets them back now after the charge of Kazakhs continuing to move up in this race. And they're battling up ahead as well, because Rooney was getting very close to Jules just further up the road, and Clevy as well, trying to fight back at Symbolics, who covers the inside very nicely. Heading for turn 3, DRS will be on again for Clevy, but he runs a little bit sideways, coming off the exit on the corner. Legend and James are actually battling away at that hair, but the two teammates, here comes Clevy again, back around the outside, last gasp attempt, trying to claw it back, gets squeezed off the run by Symbolics, but he's not giving it up. Wheel to wheel now, towards turn 6, but has to back out of it cleverly there. So well defended, coolly seen off by Symbolics. Very aggressive, but just about fair. He still runs in second place, and now Dream Indigo now runs in that 4th place and may threaten Cliffy as well. Cliffy has 6 seconds of penalties, could really hold him back now. But still the trade very close behind Legend, who got past James. Very interesting team tactics down there at TRT. Look at Cassius though, he's caught these guys so quickly, now runs on the back of Rudy, and he can really make an impression. Clevy though still on the back of Symbolics. Can he try and get back through then? It's not the best exit off of turn 1 though, and Dream Indigo maybe fancying his chances of trying to get back up to it then. Clevy closes on Symbolics to the outside yet again. Coming in at turn 3, it's coming off again by Symbolics. Can he get the traction on exit? It's going to be a fight again, I think, and Dream Indigo's right there to capitalise. Here comes Clevy now, getting back at Symbolics, who once again covers the inside line. Round the outside goes Clevy. He's going to get run out of the road surely, and now Dream Indigo on the inside and through the grass goes Clevy. Another error, and that's going to drop him out of this fight surely now. Clevy fought so hard, but dropped back into 4th place. Now BR have 2 drivers on the podium. They are charging so hard now in this race. They now run 2-3.
That is brilliant team tactics as well from VER. Symbolics great defending. Cliffy made the mistake, and that's allowed Dream to go through on the road. So, and now Cliffy with his time penalties could drop behind his other VER teammate of Jules, currently running in 7th place, but he's got Kazakhs swarming all over the back of him. Pitting onto those soft tyres, coming out in the clean air has really helped him as James now picks up a time penalty. That's going to drop him further down the order as well. Kazakhs has already passed Rooney, and now he's on the back of Jules for that 7th place on the road. Vapor currently lead the race. Their second driver's in 8th, but he's trying to work his way up to maybe 4th in this race. As now Dream Indigo passes his teammate. That's a team move there. They think that Indigo's the faster of the 2 drivers, so he's been let through, maybe to try and have a run at Vapor for the end of this race, as James and Legend again go side by side, and James runs a little bit deep. Jules is trying to capitalise around the outside of turn 3, and look at Kazakhs in the background as well. He's got DRS, look out for him as Jules round the outside of Legend down towards turn 4. Can he get the move down? Can he go all the way around the outside of the TRT drive? He's going to try it. It's almost complete opposite. Symbolics are going to make big contact, and Legend spun off the road, and Jules is into the gravel as well. That puts Kazakhs and Rooney now up into 6th and 7th. Vapor Shades up into 9th. Bear Ramey's up into the top 10, and Kelvin's up to 11th place as well. What a disaster for TRT.
Yeah, Legend tried to move over on him. Jules was not giving that one up, and in the end they came together. A disaster for Jules, but more so for Legend, who on hard tyres has now dropped right to the rear of the field. That was looking so good for him earlier on in the race. Kazakhs now has a clear run at TRT James and is hunting for a top 5 out there at the moment then. He raids him in, and surely James can't hold on to this there. He used the last of his overtake reserves to boost away and give everything to try and maintain P5 out there. But for how long can he hold on to it? With just 3 laps to go then. Kazakhs looking at that inside line already. Rudy's right with him as well. He is not out of that fight just yet. I think James may have survived another lap. Are Kazakh's tyres starting to go off? You wouldn't think so. There's only 4 laps on them, but he may still be struggling a little bit more for the Dinsborough up there. Bear Remy's on the attack again. Goes clean round the outside of Vapor Shea, and now runs inside the top 10. What a comeback from Remy, but he runs wide, and now Shea back on the inside for turn 5, and the outside for turn 6, but I think he's going to have to back out of that one, as Bear Remy maintains it, covers the line, Ledger as well, getting past Baggies out there, so back up into the 12, trying to make something of a charge late in the race. So, we're now entering the final stages of this one, and the real headline battle may well be for 5th place now. Kazakhs is reigning at James, so far hasn't got through 2 laps to make it work. Can he get him on track?
I think it's going to be a done deal, really, coming down towards turn 3. He used up a little bit of his ERS to get closer, coming out of turn 1. And he's on the overtake once again, coming out of the corner. Surely he's got to be close enough for the breakers over turn 3. Coming through the kink of turn 2 is already going to the inside line. And that's massively covered off by James. I don't no idea how Kazakhs found a gap in there. But he's down the inside for turn 3. He's going to put James on the curb. That's going to affect his run. Coming out the corner, brilliant driving from Kazakhs. He breezes past, coming out the exit of the corner. James trying to fight back around the outside. He's on his overtake using the last of his reserves. Trying to drive clean around the outside of turn 4, turns into the corner, but Kazakhs is going to have the line. He's onto the curb, and Kazakhs is going to get the better run out the corner. He found a space where I didn't think there was one at all when Kazakhs up the inside, up into P5. Brilliant stuff from him. But remember, Cliffy in front has at least 2 penalties, so at the moment Kazakhs could be on for a 4th place finish. That would be a great result for Vapor, 1st and 4th in the first round, with VR 2nd and 3rd. Those two seem to be the ones that are doing the best job at the moment. Looking further down the field as well, Legend and Baki were side by side a little bit earlier on, but Legend seems to have held on to 12th place for the time being, but he continues to struggle on those hard compound tyres. Looking further down the field as well, OWR Rock City is all over the back of Colin for that 18th place at the moment, trying to get as many points for OWR as possible, but at the moment just a little bit stuck. We're on to the final lap of the race, and Vapor Kunth, after passing Cliff in the opening laps of the race, has not looked back. He's just cleared off into the distance in this race.
And that's going to be really helpful for Vapor. They are not out of this fight just yet then. TRT look to have the best outright pace in the entire field, but ultimately the race just hasn't gone their way here today, and they're going to have to try and fight back if they want to ensure their place in the final. We're certainly going to have a close battle here. I don't think there's going to be a particularly clear winner, especially with how Vapor have really come to form in the shape of Kazakhs. He started 17th in this race. Could now, just 2 corners to go. What a drive at Spain, and barring no penalties, he's heading for the race win here in Austria.
Brilliant stuff from Kunth. He's led really from the outset, didn't get pole position, but it didn't matter in the end. Kunth is going to cross the line to take a pretty dominant victory in the first round tonight. Dream Indigo and Symbolics will cross the line 2nd and 3rd. Cliffy crosses the line in 4th place, but with penalties, so you imagine Kazakhs will jump in front of him. He will. James crosses the line. Rooney goes ahead of his teammate, but not ahead of Cliffy. Where does Jules feature in all of this? He jumps ahead of James, as does Bear Ramy as well, and Bear Ramy nearly passed Jules on track. He'd caught him so quickly. Vapor Shea finishes out the top 10. Odoar Backies is in 11th place. Legend in 12th. Atlas Kopo 13th. Ahead of VER Kelvin 14th. Obi Twan, who had left the lobby earlier on, he's in 15th. Sampy King will cross the line in 16th, and then we wait for TTVI Quicks, who obviously had that damage earlier on in the race. He crosses the line 17th. Colin will cross the line 18th, just ahead of Rock City, and Colin and Rock City both jumped Quicks in the end, and Mishar in after that spin late on in the race. He will cross the line in last place. And after that one, obviously we had both Vapor and VR occupying the top 4 spots, but other than that, it's really truncated through the rest of the field, so the points is actually going to be really, really close. Yeah,
that's a really exciting prospect ahead of our final race in Britain, and I can't wait to see how that's going to unfold. As you mentioned earlier, completely different track. I think that was in the original stream that unfortunately wasn't able to be continued. But yeah, Kunth, what a drive that was. As you mentioned, just completely dominant after the start, and in the end, Vapor, with that drive from Kazakhs as well, very, very strong. Cliffy's out the session, so hopefully we'll get him back in. TRT, though, was so impressed with the qualifying pace, but in the race it just didn't quite go their way. A few mistakes, a few penalties, and just some rather questionable just racecraft decisions as well. We saw at one point 2 of their drivers were fighting each other, so in the end TRT may well have some work to do to try and get into that final.
Yeah, Vapor then wins the race from 2nd on the grid. Dream Indigo gets 2nd in Symbolics, so a double podium for VER. Kazakhs 4th from 17th on the grid. What a comeback from him. Cliffy only 5th. Rooney in 6th as well. VER of Jules is in 7th. Ahead of Bay Ramy from 18th on the grid up to 8th, where he could have been without any validation in qualifying. James and Vapor Shea ran off the top 10. Then it's back his Legend, Atlas Kopo, Kelvin, Obi Twan, Colin, Sampy King, Rock City, Quicks and Masharin that finish off the 20 finishers. Everyone got to the end of the race, so everyone will score points. But just looking at the finishes from the first race, obviously had Vapor in 1st and 4th place at the end of that race, but the problem for them is the rest of their drivers really didn't finish too well.
Yeah, but of course they all finished in a. Well, I think so anyway. I think we had pretty much the entire grid making the checkered flag, which is good to see. We'll get to Britain very, very shortly, but I do agree with your point. Is that you have some relatively dominant results there up at the front of the grid. You have Vapor winning, of course, but I do think that we saw that qualifying was a largely VER and TRT dominated affair. They shared almost the entire top 10 between them. Very much not that's the story is absolutely not that way in the race. We had a much bigger mix. You had Bear Ramy actually having a brilliant drive and getting up into 8th place to back up OWR and give them half a chance heading into this race as well. So a bit more of a mix, and I do think the standings are going to be very, very close, which always makes this second round more exciting.
Definitely does, yeah. Does it look like Vapor, VER and TRT are all going to be fairly similar on points, and then it might be a little bit further back for OWR, but just looking at both Behrami and Bacchus results really as well. Bacchus from 20th on the grid to finish 11th in the end, so a good comeback from him as well. Both of those drivers obviously invalidating their times in the first qualifying session at Austria, so if they're able to get a good lap in qualifying at Silverstone, along with their teammates as well, it's not out of the question that the OWR could still come back for this one.
They're going to need some fortune to hand their way, but we will see. I don't think any team is out of contention, and no team is safe ahead of this final round. And of course, remember, only 2 out of the 4 can go through in advance to that final that will be on the 6th of December. So hopefully you're all watching and waiting for that one. Not quite updated on the proceedings of Group B, which for some reason was before Group A. I won't voice my opinion on that too much. We'll see who advanced from that group, because we already know that group has finished by now. So we already know, at least some of you know, we're not exactly sure on what teams are going to be progressing to the final on that side. And of course, in the next half an hour or so, we're going to get the answers as to who's going to progress from this Group A and who will join those 2 teams in the final next month.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Let us know in the chat if you have watched the first group, to let us know if the first group has been announced, who's been taken through to the next round. Obviously, the first group was run, I believe, with QVR alongside the 2 TTG teams. I honestly can't remember the 4th team that took part in that one, but I imagine that was very, very close. We have got a couple of drivers that have left the lobby, unfortunately. Cliffy has left the lobby, and I believe one of the VER drivers has left the lobby as well. That might be someone that left the lobby midway through the Austrian race. So we'll have to wait and see if they're able to join back before the start of the British race. Otherwise, both of those teams are unfortunately a driver down, which would not be what we want. I think it's Obi-Tuan that isn't back in the lobby. Actually, he's just joined back now. So we're just waiting for Cliffy to re-join the lobby, and then we can get going for the Silverstone round. Otherwise, if Cliffy isn't able to take part in the second race today, that means that TRT are down to 4 drivers, and that is not what you need coming into a round where they're not certain on their position yet.
Definitely no, and it's going to really hold them back, because points are awarded to every driver that finishes the race. So losing one of those drivers is a huge blow to their chances, especially a pole sitter from the last race. Just to quickly mention there, the 4th team that you forgot was TNR from the other group. So we'll hopefully get news of how that all unfolded. So yeah, hopefully we get Cliffy back in, and hopefully we can resume racing. We are running a bit later than intended already, and I think we're all hoping to get this race, this show on the road at one of the greatest tracks in the history of Formula 1 back underway. We are actually readying up there, so I think we may well be going without Cliffy, and if that's the case, well, TRT are going to have a huge amount of work to do ahead of this race there. They may well be a driver down, which means that all 4 of the remaining drivers have to be on their A game if they want to get through. They
really do. Yeah, Cliffy was obviously the pole sitter from the first round, so they're losing technically their fastest driver. I think he was their top point scorer in that first round as well, but he dropped to 5th in the end on penalties and a couple of pieces of contact with some other drivers as well. So Rooney, TRT, James as well, they've really got to step up their game. Legend as well has got to step up his game coming into this round. Legend was running in that podium place early on in the race before contact sent him off the road and into the gravel, and it's at turn 4, and that dropped him down to 12th place. So expect good things from him as well, but like you say, TRT are going to have to score well with all 4 drivers to guarantee themselves a spot in the grand final. They're already a man down, so that is one thing to look out for. I think as well, OWR obviously the ones to play catch up in this one, having seemingly the worst point scoring out of the whole teams in the first round, but looking at the pace that some of the OWR drivers had, they could definitely come away with a good result in the Silverstone round. And as well, Silverstone's a very different track to Silverstone. Obviously, Silverstone's a very different track to Silverstone. Silverstone's a very different track to Spielberg. There we go, get my words out correctly. But obviously a very different track, a lot more corners, a very high-speed track. This track is not for the faint-hearted, is it?
Certainly, and I'm looking forward to seeing the. I feel like I've ran over that phrase so much tonight, but it's going to be very, very intriguing just to have a look at how these drivers are all going to compare. Of course, different track, completely different skill set, so we'll probably get a different order here in the qualifying and indeed the race. So do not bank on anything that you saw in Austria. It can be very, very unpredictable. We'll see if Kuntz is able to do it again, though, and grab the race win. We will see, of course, as now we head into one-shot qualifying. Let's get this one started.
Here we go then for a lap around Silverstone. We're going to ride on board with iQuicks for the lap around the Silverstone circuit. So through Abbey, flat out first corner, and now coming up into the Farm Village section. So into Farm, and then into the loop. Down through the gears and then into the hairpin, the slowest corner on the track. This one a little bit of a lock up on that inside left front, but gets away with it, runs a little bit shallow on the exit of the corner. Now through Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight, the first of the two DRS zones. Probably the more harder, the difficult overtaking spots, because the straight is actually quite short and it's a short braking zone into a long left-hander and into a very long left-hander of Lovefield coming out of the corner, takes a wider line to square off the corner, but that he struggles on traction on the exit of the corner because of it, gets to the power too early. That's going to ruin his run through Woodcote, and it is flat out all the way really up until the Maggots-Beckett's complex. So through Copse he goes, keeps it tight to the inside, takes enough curb, runs out a little bit wide but gets away with it. That was a brilliant line through Copse. TLT James is already retired, so he's invalidated. His lap is over with through Maggots and then through Beckett and then coming into Chapel onto the hanger straight. Can he get a good run out of the corner? He does. He doesn't touch the grass. It's a nice run. So Quick starting to make up a little bit of time for that mistake. And now coming down towards Stowe corner, an uphill braking zone. You can brake a lot later than you think for this corner. It's about a fifth gear corner. He keeps it in sixth actually through there. Don't run too wide. And now down the crest and into the Vale Club chicane. The last two corners on the track. Take the sausage curb on the inside. Don't take the sausage curb on the inside of this part. It's a double right-hander to finish the lap. But here we come to the end of the lap. It's going to be Legend that's on pole position. So TLT take both pole positions. And by 0.2 of a second, that's a pretty convincing pole time.
We'll see if that's going to be converted then. Legend, a huge lap to go on to the front and a critical one for TRT, who are very compromised there. They're not, for the most part, up there. And yet again, VER, Kelvin's a little bit further down, but besides that, they had another very strong qualifying, and they are certainly hunting to try and get through there. They're looking potentially the favourite to advance. Yeah,
Legend then on pole position with the 24.2. That's a very respectable time in these cars. VR Jules in second place, ahead of Symbolic third. Vapor Kunth race winner in Austria in fourth on the grid. Dream Indigo fifth. Kazakh sixth ahead of Obi-Tuan, Shea Quicks, and Bear Remy rounds off the top 10. Atlas Kopo, the second OWR driver, in 11th. So a better qualifying this time around for OWR. Rooney toiled ahead of Kelvin, Backis, Sampi King, Colling, Rock City, Masharin, and TLT James, the only two people that disqualified their times. But for TRT, that is not what it needed. James seems like a very fast driver, but for him to be starting at the back of the field around Silverstone, which is notoriously harder to overtake than Austria, that is a real disaster for TRT.
Yeah, definitely a more difficult track to overtake. You're going to see, particularly through the Maggots and Beckett's complex and through Copse, very high-speed corners heading onto the hanger straight, where it's going to be very difficult to follow behind another car. So that's going to make things a lot more tricky to try and make your way through. We saw the charge that Kazakhs had in the last race, and the charge that Bear Remy had as well. If they were in their positions, they're going to have to fight a lot harder to move up through the order here at Silverstone. It's not a particularly high-deck circuit as well as Austria, and 25% race strategy could well be very simple, just like it was at the Austrian Grand Prix. I believe it's a 13-lap race around Silverstone, which is just on your back garden, I believe. So
it is, yeah.
Very much looking forward to this one. Silverstone's such an iconic track, and I can't wait to see how these drivers all fare and take on this circuit then. Legend flying the flag for TRT. Pole position this time. Can he hang on to it? It is critical for him to try and maintain that lead if they want any chance of advancing.
And this time round, TLT not occupying that many spots in the top 10. They're in pole position, but the next TLT driver's in 9th. That's Quicks. 9th place, Rooney in 12th, and then TLT James last on the grid in 19th place. So that's not as good a qualifying as last time out. VER once again occupying a lot of spots in the top 10. All, well, 4 of their 5 drivers inside the top 10. Kelvin the only one outside, but he's in 13th, so it's not exactly like he's out of the running. He still could be scoring a lot of good points for VER in this one, but Jules and Symbolics and G Mindigo all in the top 5. VER at the moment look like the favourites to come away with this one with the most amount of points. They had a very good run in Austria, and they seem to be continuing it on today into Silverstone, which is, like you say, it is right in my back garden. Actually, it's only about 5 miles away as the crow flies, so it is right in my back garden. So that is brilliant to see such a track like this, so iconic as well. It's such an iconic track. This one is such a history to this track as well, and it has developed so much over the years and will continue to develop in the future. Can't wait to see what Silverstone does next with this circuit, what kind of track iterations they come up with in the future. But coming into this round, obviously a lot of people might be starting on the medium tyres. Let's double check and see what tyres everyone is on. So Atlas Copo in 11th place, as well as VER Kelvin 13th, Sampi King, Colin Rock City 15th, 16th and 17th, and TLC James in 19th, all going for the medium tyres. And it's fairly common in 25% races around this track to see people actually run for a longer distance on the softs than they do on the mediums.
Yeah, because of the low deck, and I'm interested to see maybe the guys outside the top 10 on the mediums. Rather uncharacteristically, if you're familiar with the 50% race on this game that most leagues run, but you might be seeing these drivers actually pitting very, very early. Not what you see in the AWS graphic. Please ignore that as much as you can. But yeah, I think you might be seeing potentially the medium runners maybe even pitting early and trying to get as much running on the softs as they possibly can. Yeah, I'll have to wait and see whether they can pull that one off, see which strategy is the best. Atlas Copo will be our first person to look out for, the first person on the medium tyres in 11th place. We only had 2 people starting on the mediums in the first round, and one of them was Kazakhs, and he pulled off a brilliant strategy from 17th on the grid to 5th in the race. But Daka, I'm going to hand over to you for the start of the second round tonight. So, let's get this one started then. The back of the grid now settled, and we can get ready now for the second race of the evening here at Silverstone then. So the lights are coming on now. We have 5 lights. And we are away for race 2 of the night here at Breton. Who's got the best start from the front row there? Legend looks to have converted. He leads going into the first corner there. Jules battling away. Could have been a good start there. Moving up into net P3 there. Further back there. Symbolic slip back. Dream Indigo goes through. And also Kazakhs down the inside there. And they're all bunching up into spinners. Down there at Village, there's debris flying everywhere. And I'm looking to see, I think Atlas Copo's lost places there. TRT James spinning potentially as well. It's a bit hard to keep up with the graphical glitches. But there are many cars that have lost out down there, and a lot of cars certainly with damage as well that's going to scatter out the field. And what teams are going to lose out and what teams are going to benefit from this? Down in the midfield, a huge accident down there at turn 3. Loads and loads of debris going off. I think one of the TLT drivers was spun round. That might have been Rooney. It is Rooney. He's dropped down to 17th. He's dropped so many places. Vapor Shea's dropped down to the back as well. 2 of our Vapor drivers now running 18th and 19th. Masharin spun at the first corner, and Vapor Shea in that contact at turn 3. So Vapor not off to a good start. Kelvin's continuing to drop places as well. James is up to 14th already from 19th on the grid. He's flying on these medium tyres. He feels pretty confident. He's the next car in front of him, not too far back himself either, as Rooney continues to drop. I wonder if he's got a lot of front mid damage. He has. So it's a disaster for TRT, down in 14th and 18th for their drivers, and Quicks in 8th at the moment. But coming to the end of lap 1, Legend continues to lead. Jules in 2nd place, Vapor Kunth up into 3rd, and Dream Indigo up to 4th. Kazakhs 5th. Symbolics is the one that dropped off the leaders down to 6th place, ahead of his teammate Obi-Twan, who's currently running in 7th. Quicks 8th. Bear Ramy and Atlas Copo ran off the top 10 for OWR, so Atlas Copo is still going on those medium tyres inside the top 10, and he's got Colin and Kelvin directly behind him as Rooney's into the pit lane to change his front wing. And I think we've got a couple more people in as well. Backies, OWR Backies is into the pit lane, and Masharin's into the pit lane as well after his spin. So a lot of contact on that opening lap that's cost a lot of places. Symbolics trying to come back through the field. He's on the back now of Kazakhs coming down towards Brooklyn's. Can he look to the inside line? He does have a little look, but no DRS as of yet, so he can't get close enough into Brooklyn's. He is able to make the move, so he stays in behind Kazakhs in a net P6 for the time being. Kazakhs running in P5 once again, doing a good job for Vapor at the front of the field, as is Vapor Kunth as well, currently running in 3rd place. But Legend continues to lead the way, but once again it's a good start for TLT, but Legend is already under pressure from Jules behind. Jules actually tried to go for an overtake running outside of Brooklyn's, didn't quite pull it off, but that could be a bad omen for Legend. He is currently under huge amount of pressure up at the front of the grid. DRS is not activated just yet, but it will be on the next lap, and that could be hugely powerful, particularly coming down this hangar straight. So keep an eye out and keep your eyes open, because it could really get spicy up in that lead battle there. We have VER and Vapor both attacking TRT up in the lead in this race. So for the back down the field there, most of the grid actually survived. Baki, Rooney and Misharon all had to come into the pit lane to change their front legs and are now well off the rear of the field then. So they're going to have a lot of work to do. DRS is activated as of now. For the back down the field there, TTGames on the attack, made his way past Colin, who looks to the inside of turn 1. Will just about back out of that one. And as Kelvin for company, the medium runners now, battling away down there. As actually down the inside goes Kelvin a long way back. Just going to get that one stopped. Gavin Rim by Colin, who has the inside line but runs a bit shallow into the corner, and round the outside goes VR Kelvin, and also Shea tugging it behind then. Again, James on the attack is now past Rock City. Great start for TRT James to move up through the field, and now the second highest on the mediums. Atlas Kobo is well in front of him though, but all of the medium runners really have dropped back significantly from the front runners on the soft tyres. That could really create a divide in the field because the top 9 are so far clear already.
They really are. They are starting to fly away. Atlas Kopo already 3 seconds back. There's a second lap, and he picks up a time penalty as well coming out of Cops. So it's not going well at the moment for Atlas Kopo, currently running in 10th place. Jules, though, really close, coming down the hanger straight, and this time around has DRS. Legend goes all the way to the right-hand side of the track to block the inside line. Can Jules go all the way around the outside of Stowe? Be a great move if he can pull it off, but he's on the marbles on the outside, and Legend does well to defend the move. Jules stays in second place for the time being, maybe goes for a move at Vale Club chicane, but again, not quite close enough, so Jules stays in second. But Jules, especially in the middle sector, looks a lot more confident than Legend. He was tucked right up underneath him through Maggots and Beckett's. I'm amazed he didn't struggle in the dirty air behind Legend through that complex of corners, but he got away with it. Vapor currently running in 3rd place, just waiting, I think, for a mistake, as Jules again so close, coming down into the farm section of the track, but again not close enough to make a move. Can he get a move though? Down into Brooklyn's, down the DRS straight. Looks like Legend's got a good run coming through Aintree, but Jules will have DRS and ERS on at the moment, coming down the track, now down towards the left-hand side as Legend goes, and Jules darts to the inside line. I think Legend assumed that he had the inside covered, and Jules went for the move. Legend's going to have the inside line though for Luffield, so can he come back at the man down the inside as Jules runs into the side of Legend, and somehow Legend holds on to the place through Luffield, so he's still in the lead of this race. But Jules trying to go for a move maybe at Cops. Is he going to try and go around the outside? It's not quite close enough. He stays in behind, but can he get a run maybe towards Maggots and Beckett as Legend was a little bit wide onto the curb. Gunther is closing in as well, trying to capitalise on these two battling so hard at the moment. They're all over the road trying to defend from one another, and Legend is somehow holding on to this. Legend with a brilliant run through Maggots and Beckett, but gets in the grass ever so slightly. The Chapel, as does Kazakhs in the background, who's actually spun. I think Kazakhs has gone off the road completely. He took too much grass coming out of Chapel. He spun the car as Jules once again goes for a move for Stowe, but this time round isn't close enough to go all the way around the outside of Legend. Maybe has a look at the inside for the Vale chicane, and Legend's in. Legend and Kunther both into the pit lane, as is Dream Indigo as well, so all 3 of them in. Jules and Symbolics and Obi, one of the ones that stay out, but that's very early for the soft runners to come into the pit lane because the medium tyres at the moment seem to have no pace at all.
Is that going to mean then that an overcut could be possible, and the top 3 now occupied by VAR drivers? I'm checking that pit lane to see if the order is going to change around at all, if Legend is able to try and maintain that race lead. He's being held, at least on my view, and he's dropped right to the back of the train, and Kunther's jumped him. That's horrible luck for Legend, who did an amazing job of maintaining the race lead under such immense pressure, but now drops to 3rd in the line, and Kunther moves forward then, maybe in the hunt for another race victory. But how are the mediums going to work, and can they possibly match up to the pace of the leading soft runners?
That is going to be the key to this one. Atlas Kopo is dropping so much time at the moment. He's 2.5 seconds behind Bayeremi, and Bayeremi's dropped loads of time to the soft runners in front. He's 5 seconds behind Obi-Twan, so I don't know where Bayeremi's lost that time in the past few laps. But Atlas Kopo, TRT James really is the only one that's bringing some sort of pace out of these medium tyres, but he's still only running in 6th place and still behind Atlas Kopo, so look out for him a little bit later on. But it's just not working on those mediums as of yet. Do any of the leaders come in? Do they react, or do they go for something different? Symbolics under a little bit of pressure from Obi-Twan coming down the hanger straight, but they're not quite close enough, and their teammates, so don't expect them to battle coming down towards Stowe as Jules is into the pit lane, Symbolics is in, and Obi-Twan is in as well. They're all into the pit lane, so none of them wanting to try the overcut.
We'll see now if that 1 lap overcut is going to make a difference. Let's see then. So all of the top 4 come into the pit lane. That's going to promote Atlas Kobo to the race lead. But is that strategy going to work out? And is that his pace a sign that the mediums may not be working out then? So through the pit lane, is Jules going to get in front of that pack? Looks like he will do. Now he just has to try and beat the rest of the drivers out of the pit lane there. Where is Kunt on the track now? He is coming out of Club now in town. The main straight. Where is he going to emerge? Here we go then. Heading into turn 1 there. He might just about jump into the lead. I think he's going to have to sit behind though. He will get in front of Symbolics, but just about. Jules gets into the race lead for VER, and they're having a superlative time now. 3 out of the top 4 net positions now are occupied by VER drivers.
And Legend has lost out massively in all that from 1st to 5th. What a shame that he got held in the pit lane. He had good race pace, it seemed, but he's dropped behind 4 drivers, 3 of them VER. VER flying along. Vapor being holding the flag for Vapor at the moment. Kazakhs was up there, but Kazakhs obviously spun, so he's dropped well down the field. Now down to 16th place, stuck behind Kelvin, who's on the soft tyres. So that's going to be even more difficult for Kazakhs to try and make a move stick on Kelvin, who's also running for VER at the moment, but it's sitting firmly in the palm of their hands at the moment for VER to be the top point scorers today, as James gets a move on Atlas Copo now. So James continues his charge through the field, now into the race lead. Atlas Copo stays down in 2nd place. Neither of them come into pit lane. Vapor Shea, the last of the soft runners to come in at the end of lap 6. He was in 3rd place on the road, I think a net P12 at the time, so he's going to drop a bit further down the field as Kazakhs picks up a penalty to boot as well. So if his race can get any worse, he picks up a time penalty, and that's going to really hinder him in his battle with Kelvin in front, because it's so difficult to make a gap around this track. James then leads, and James, despite obviously invalidating in qualifying, is flying along on these tyres.
Doing a brilliant job, and we'll see if he can try and come back on the softs at the end. I was actually expecting one of the medium runners to be in by now, but they're all remaining faithful and staying out on track for the time being. In the battle over the net race lead, Jules did manage to maintain it, but he is under huge amount of pressure from Kuda. Didn't get the best exit though, coming out of the loop, and will just about have to hold back and maintain possession. Kazakhs now moving forward, is in front of Vapor Shea now, heading through, and now Kelvin looking at the inside for VER now on the soft tyres. Is he going to get that one done? They both struggle for traction, but on the outside, Shea will cut in front of Kelvin and maintain 15th place. Kelvin has got to try and move up to the field and back up his teammates up at the front of the race at the moment then. So Jules leads the way in 6th place on pit stops and net position. He is your race leader, but Kud is bearing down and have been keeping the pressure on and trying to split up this formation of VER drivers up at the front of the race. First of the medium starters that didn't get damage, I believe. Now into the pit lane in Atlas Copo. Rock City follows him. TRT James, faithful to them, still remains out as Rock City now with a penalty in the pit lane.
Yeah, Rock City into pit lane, that was Copo into pit lane as well, so both OWR drivers coming off of those medium tyres are going to put the softs on for the last 6 laps of this race, so let's see what pace they can pull out of their tyres. Where do they come out onto track? So where does Atlas Copo come out in this battle? There's a whole queue of cars really, all the way down to Quicks, and then there's a big gap out to Bayrami, who's currently running in 13th place on the medium tyres. On his own at the moment is Bayrami. What a different race he's having to Austria. He was flying through the field, and now he's completely on his own, and his OWR teammate Atlas Copo is going to come out directly behind him on track, but ahead of Vapor Shea, so he's going to be in a lot of free air. So he's going to be able to use those soft tyres nicely and try and close in on his teammate and maybe onto the back of this whole queue of cars that are all starting to battle over places. Vapor Kunthe runs in 5th place on the road. He's still tucked right up behind Jules, but the problem for Kunthe is he runs a little bit wide through Brooklands. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Symbolics, who's trying to go all the way around the outside of Luffield. Can he get a run on the exit of the corner? He's got a very good run coming out of Luffield. Does he use his ERS down towards Cops? No, he doesn't. He's going to stick it behind Kunthe for the time being, but Kunthe starting to feel a little bit of pressure from behind now. He's looking more behind him than in front of him at the moment, and Obi Twan in the background as well, trying to get past Legend, so it could be 4 out of 5 VER cars running in the top 5 places. That would be great for them if they could pull that one off. But the problem here for Vapor is that Kunthe is running in 5th place, but the next Vapor car is Shea in 13th.
Yeah, that's really going to hold them back, and it may open the door for one of the other 2 teams to maybe snatch it. It looks like barring disaster, VER may well progress. Look at Symbolics as well. He's still pressuring Kunthe, runs wide. Coming out of snow, will just about hold on to it. Legend, though, battling with Obi Twan back there, who's almost having a look at trying to get through, as you mentioned. So Legend under pressure. TRT James did go pit lane and will emerge probably in and around where Bayrami Atlas Copo sort of area is. And we'll see if he can try and make the most out of that then and try and move forward. Still, Jules leads the way. Kunthe behind him, and Kunthe has done an excellent job of managing ERS, giving him still a real chance, and he gets a good exit coming out of this corner, and he may well just maybe close enough. He's using the overtake now. He may well go on to the attack. Well, wait for Kunthe there, but again the ERS is using retaliation from VER Jules, and he will just hold on to your race lead, your net race lead out on track. 3rd place at the moment then. Still holding on to that one. Dream Indigo trying to hold on in front of Legend there. He's beginning to lose contact with the net top 3. So they're all beginning to run clear now. Kunt is starting to try come back towards Jules, and if he has an overtaking opportunity, he has to take it now. So here we go then, heading into Magus and Vegason, and Kunt has closed down the gap there and chasing a double win for Vapor and trying to get them a potential seat in the final next month. But Jules again, strong exit, coming off of Chapel, and it may just about be enough to again maintain the race lead, but all this defending, all this runs out of corners, it's costing him ERS, and he's now 40% down on Kunt, who's now again, looking more and more likely to maybe claim this race lead again.
He's really coming back at him, yeah, he really is. I think he just had a lap maybe where he just had a little bit of an error and just tried to close back in, and once he's closed back in again, he's all over the back of Jules. But Jules now into the race lead as our two leaders, Colin and Stampy King, come in to put the soft compound tyres on, so they'll drop further down the field. Jules then back into the lead of the race, but Kunt is all over him with a massive ERS advantage, and look how late on the brakes he was for Farm. He nearly ran clean into the back of Jules there, and now go through the loop and coming down towards entry. Can Kunt get a good run out of the corner? He gets a decent enough run, but again, he's not using his ERS. I think he's just waiting for the right moment. Doesn't want to do it too early and risk Jules coming back at him at some point in the lap. But Kunt at the moment seems to have such a massive pace advantage. Jules has got good traction coming out of the crucial corners, but at the moment it's not quite enough. Looking further back as well, Legend has closed back in on Dream Indigo, so he's somewhat safe from Obi-Twan, as James is going to get past Bayeremi round the outside of Brooklands. What a move from James. He's using the soft tyres nicely. From 19th on the grid, James is running in 8th place with 3.5 laps to go, and there's not a lot of gap up to his teammate currently running in 7th place, but then beyond Quicks is quite a big gap up to Obi-Twan. But all of our top 6 running within half a second of the driver in front, so a lot could still happen in this race. And it's Symbolics who's had a brilliant run through Maggots and Beckett's. He's on his ERS, he's trying to use all of it to try and get past Vapor down towards Stowe, but again not able to get close enough and make the move stick. But again, really good run through Stowe. Is he going to look up the inside for the Vale Club chicane? He's not quite going to go for the move, so Symbolics looking fast as well. It looks like at the moment Jules in the lead of the race is the slowest of the top 6.
Yeah, the top 6 are so bunched up. There's not more than half a second gap between any of these drivers. Remarkable stuff at the moment. And yeah, Jules holding them all up there and Kunt reining him in. He has 45% more ERS, but can he use it to good effect to get through? Symbolics is there ready to pounce as well, so Kunt has to get on with it then, and Jules still leads the way now. Overtake briefly for Kunt, but Jules immediately pulls to the left hand side of the track to try and dart and break the toe, and it's enough just for the time being, and Kunt cannot quite get up to him just yet. They still are running the same order with less than 3 laps to go in this race, but surely Kunt is going to eventually use most of that ERS, and then he will be such a deadly adversary for your race leader BAR Jules. They head through Cops. Jules was a little bit wide, a little bit out of shape, and again Kunt closes up to him. Jules has been quicker out of all the critical corners onto the long straights every single time, but has he done enough this time? Kunt surely has a great run of the race leader. Jules not covering the inside line, even in mid-late move as I say that. Moves across the front wing, but Vapor Kunt right outside and takes the race lead. Finally moves up and reclaims it. Now, can he run away with this? Well, Jules used everything to defend it, but is he going to do it now? Legend now with a penalty. He lost out to Obi-Twan as well. So BER moved down one, but also moved up one. Now they have 4 drivers in the line. Legend drops back. Jules drops back as well. And Vapor moving up to the race lead now has ERS to try and pull away. Jules is right on him though. Can he possibly fight back? He's limited on fuel. He's limited on the ERS, but he's not giving this one up just yet. Obi-Twan and Dream Indigo, the swapping places as well, and Legend down the outside late, going into the loop, trying to snatch that 5th place and do anything he can to help TRT. They are parallel down the main straight, but surely now Dream Indigo is going to pull through with more ERS, with more overtake to use. He reclaims that 5th place then, ahead of Legend. Legend now with a penalty is in trouble. TRT have 3 drivers in the top 8, but I don't think even that may not be enough. I think the ER is safe between Vapor and TRT. It may well be incredibly close.
It's going to be so close, like you say, between TRT and Vapor. Vapor really, Kunt is really flying the flag for Vapor. They've only got 1 driver in the top 10 though. Shay in 11th place and Kazakh in 12th. Stuck outside the top 10. Vapor have really they're really resting all their hopes on Gunther at the moment, who's going to have to try and hold on to this race victory. He needs this race victory so that Vapor can go through to the next round. Jules is tucked in behind in the slipstream, but has nothing to give in ERS, absolutely nothing to attack with. So Jules, I think, is just going to have to sit this one out unless Gunther makes a mistake. He's got 40% more ERS in his hands, so he can easily defend any move that comes his way. Symbolics in third as well, once again looking fast, looking for a double podium for Symbolics today. That's a great result, and VER a dream result in second, third, fourth and fifth. Kelvin unfortunately has not had the race today, got caught up in all that melee on the first lap, currently running down in 13th on the soft tyres. Looking at the other soft tyre runners as well, James, after passing Bay-Remy, has not closed in on Quicks whatsoever, so he's just stuck in 8th place at the moment. Let's remember, has a time penalty, but it's only his two teammates behind him, so it's not going to cost them any points whatsoever. We're on to the final lap of the race. Vapor leads once again. This time round it's nowhere near as dominant as Austria. He spent most of the race running behind Jules, but a brilliant decisive move from Gunther. He timed it to absolute perfection. Great strategic driving and holding on to his ZRS for as long as possible to make the move as easy as possible when the opportunity came, and he takes the raised lead. What smart driving from him. It looks like he's going to hold on to this one to the end as well. We've still got that ERS and fuel advantage over Jules. Jules is running right into the red on fuel, so he's right on the limit as he goes through cops. He's flying in the middle part of the lap, but once again it's just not going to be enough. Symbolics clinging on in third, hoping that something happens to Vapor Gunther in front of him, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And OB1 now picks up a time penalty, but he should be safe, currently running in fifth. Currently running in fourth, sorry, he should be safe behind because Quicks won't be close enough to capitalise, and Legend has a penalty as well. So VER should hold on to the second through to fifth result here. Brilliant stuff from VER. They're definitely going through to the final. But to the final few corners of this race, what a drive. Once again, it's been from Gunther. He's been the star of the night. It was a dominant race victory in Austria. It was an overtake for the win with a few laps to go, and this time round he's going to win at Silverstone. A double win for Vapor, but VER with a second, third, fourth and fifth place finish surely have secured their spot in the grand final. Legend, Quicks and James holding up, flying the flag for TRT. 6th, 7th and 8th there. A driver down, but still a good result for TRT. Bay-Remy and Atlas Copo cross the line 9th and 10th, but Vapor Shea and Kazets get ahead of Atlas Copo on penalties, which could save Vapor in their battle with TRT here. They gain a place. Bay-Remy finishes 9th, Vapor Shea 10th, Kazets 11th, Kelvin 12th, Atlas Copo and Bakis 13th and 14th, Rock City 15th, Collins 16th, actually make that 15th. He jumps ahead of Rock City. Sampy King crosses the line in 17th, and then Rooney and Misharin, who both had contact on the opening lap, will finish in 18th and 19th place. Rooney sliding the car there through the final part of the club corner, and Misharin a few seconds further back after his contact on the first lap as well. But VER are definitely through, but that battle for second, I haven't got a clue who's going to be the second team through to the final.
It's going to be so tight, of course. I don't think are in any position to do the maths on that, but hopefully it gets sorted out relatively soon. One thing we do know, VER are almost certainly going through to the final next month there, but they'll be facing against two of the drivers from the other group. So I can't wait to see how that's going to unfold and how they fare against the very strong lineup from Group B, must be said. So we'll see how that all shapes up. In the end, the star driver of the evening, as you said, absolutely emphatic in both the races then, coming home with the race victories, doing everything for Vapor, but is it going to be enough to see them through and get to the final ahead of TRT?
That is going to be absolutely crucial. It is between TRT and Vapor. Definitely OWR just did not have the speed tonight, unfortunately. Bay-Remy and Atlas Copo flying the flag tonight, but it just didn't seem to work out for them in the end. They weren't able to get high enough into the top 10 to really gain back the points that they lost in the first round. So OWR is definitely seemingly not making it through to the grand final. It's between TRT and Vapor for that final spot. But here are the final results then. Vapor Gunther wins twice tonight that he's won both races. He's won flying the flag for Vapor. VER second, third, fourth and fifth. What a result from them. They are definitely through. Jules, Symbolics, Obi-Twan and Dream Indigo. Then it's Legends SV5, TLT James, iQuicks, Bay-Remy and Vapor Shea round us off the top 10. Kazets after a spin early on, what could have been a good result for him as well. He goes down into 11th place. Calvin 12th, Atlas Copo and Baki is 13th and 14th. Then it's Colin, Rock City, Sampy King, Rooney and Misharin who finish off the finishers. Everyone that took part in this race ended up finishing the race, so they all score points. Unfortunately, TRT not having one of their drivers here, Cliffy not being here for the final round, could have actually massively cost them for that battle for this final grand final spot.
Yeah, because of course, as we mentioned several times throughout the night, points for every race finisher, and if you're missing one driver, I know from experience in the old mini league that could really cost you big time. So we're going to have to tot up the points, and we'll get it to you, I'm sure, very, very soon. As the Who will advance, as we've alluded to, we can be pretty certain that VAR could come through, especially with that remarkable formation they had in the second race at Breton. They're going to get through, but yeah, the fight for second is going to be very, very close. Unfortunately, OWR just couldn't quite match up to it. Bear Remy did drive very well, it must be said, but ultimately just didn't quite have the backup to see it through. But yeah, I think that's going to round up all the racing for tonight. They're very entertaining stuff yet again, and that's of course just the start of things there. We still have a final to look forward to next time out. I'm not sure if we're going to be covering that, but hopefully whoever is will give you guys a great show when it eventually airs in about a month's time.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to round off the stream, guys. So if you want to find out who makes it through to the final, follow us on Twitter at EML F1 to find out what the results are from this evening, who's going to make it through to the grand final. Also want to just give a quick shout out to Cat named Minty in the comment section. He said midway through that battle that there were 2 imposters in the top 6, and I thought that was a great comment. That did make me giggle. So that's a nice comment from Cat Minty there. Definitely was. It did look like that, didn't it? It was like a flying formation for VER. Before we finish though, Daka, I'm going to ask you for a driver and a team of the night. I think I know what the answer is going to be, but who's your who are your driver and the teams of the night?
Yeah, I think it's rather obvious, to be honest. Just completely ran away with the Austrian race. Had to fight for the British race, but also managed that one superbly well to come through it there. Managed the ERS superbly, and in the end came out on top against 4 VAR drivers. Legend was very unlucky in that race, to be fair. But yeah, still very well driven from good. The team of the day, I think it has to be VAR. I think TRT maybe had the potential, but I did see a few times their drivers would actually fight against each other. So it just didn't seem like they were very coordinated, and that may well have cost them. We'll see. But yeah, they're my picks. Probably not any surprises there. Both their driver and team, they did a great job here tonight. Yeah,
and I fully have to agree with that one. And I agree with you as well on TRT. They similarly, I think, had the pace maybe over VER, but VER ran just better as a team, really, didn't they? They flew in formation. They let drivers through when they thought the other driver was faster, and they never really came into contact with one another. And that is why they're going to make it through to the grand final. Grand final, everyone, as well, is on the 6th of December on the Sunday evening at the same time, I believe, as this. I believe it's at 8 PM on the Sunday, the 6th of September. That's when the grand final will be. The top 2 teams in this group and the top 2 teams from the other group that ran at 7 PM will be racing for the Challenge Cup trophy on Sunday, the 6th of December. So look out for that one on League Racing TV. Tune into League Racing TV as well for the week coming up as well. All the division races are back, starting obviously on Monday with Division 1 and then Division 2 and 3 on Wednesday, and Division... Is it Wednesday actually? No, Division... I've got them completely mixed around. Anyway, looking for tune into League Racing TV. I'm fried after tonight. It's been such a crazy night of racing. But yeah, tune into League Racing TV YouTube channel and onto Twitter as well to keep up to date with everything that is going on League Racing TV wise. But from myself and QVR Daka, it is thank you very much everyone for tuning in, and we will see you again for the Challenge Cup. Hopefully, it might be us 2. We don't know yet, but you might see us again in about a month's time. But thank you very, very much, and goodbye.